Bort? Oh, come on, Bort?
Mommy, buy me a license plate!
No, come along, Bort.
Hello, and welcome to the Bort Experience, a Simpsons podcast. Today we are reviewing and talking about the season finale of season 1, episode 13 of The Simpsons, Some Enchanted Evening. First, I just want to say thank you so much for subscribing. We're up to 125 subscribers. The podcast is doing really well. Also posting other content on the channel over at the Noob News Network. I also want to say I apologize for missing last week. Just had a crazy weekend. But hopefully getting back on track and getting to enjoy the finale. And we're going to be moving into season 2 of the show. So thank you so much for the support, and let's kind of dive into the episode. So this episode originally broadcast on the Fox in the United States on May 13th, 1990. An interesting thing in Stupid TV Be More Funny, this was actually the first produced episode, but it aired last because the creators weren't happy with how the episode was looking, so they needed more time. And you kind of feel that a little bit in some of the animation and then just how some of the characters are acting. Overall, it probably wasn't the strongest way to finish the first season, but I still enjoyed the episode. It just wasn't as strong as some of the other ones. This one was directed by David Silverman and Kent Butterworth, written by Matt Groening and Sam Simon, which I don't know how many episodes Matt Groening actually wrote as credited as the actual writer, not just the developer of the series. I know it seems like there was other writers involved, and he did more of like the overall concepts, as far as my understanding, but I could be wrong on that, so I thought that was interesting. The chalkboard gag, I will not yell fire in a crowded classroom, and then the couch gag is just the family comes in and just sits on the couch in a normal manner. The episode summary, Marge, feeling unappreciated by Homer, calls into Dr. Monroe's radio show, who we've seen in a previous episode The Simpsons go to, which Homer overhears at work. Homer, wanting to make it up to Marge, decides to take her out to dinner at a fancy restaurant and hires a babysitter to take care of Bart and Lisa and Maggie. They are sent Mrs. Boz, who Bart, Lisa soon discover is actually a burglar nicknamed the Babysitter Bandit. They are captured by Mrs. Boz, tied up, but eventually are freed by Maggie. Bart and Lisa capture Mrs. Boz, call the police. Meanwhile, Marge and Homer return home, find Mrs. Boz tied up. Homer, unaware of her true identity, frees her, and Mrs. Boz makes a clean getaway just moments before the police arrive. So overall, I really enjoyed the concept of, Homer's done something wrong. Marge kind of stands up to him. And then they kind of go off and do their own thing. And then this babysitter comes in and is actually a bandit. So it's kind of, you're not really expecting that. You're maybe expecting the kids to kind of act a fool. And then the babysitter just kind of goes crazy. But to add that kind of kidnap element to it, there was like this, this movie. And if I can't remember the name of it, I'll put it in the, pop it up here on the screen. But there's a movie, I believe it has Billy Bob Thornton, where it's like they're talking about the overnight bandits or something, where like they would go and spend the night with the bank manager or the person who had access to the vault, and then almost have like dinner with them, and then they would rob the place the next day, of course. And it kind of reminded me of that plot. I don't know when that movie came out compared to like when this episode, so I don't know if there was any connection, but it kind of made me think of that. And like I said, I've only seen that movie like one time. But it definitely reminded me of that kind of feel where it's like, oh, I'm here to do a job, but I'm actually here to rob you or do something nefarious. In terms of just the actual plot and everything, like I said, it wasn't as good as some of the other episodes, but I still enjoyed it. I think they were smart not to put this as the very first episode of the show, because it just kind of like sends you into it, and it's like a crazier episode, I guess I would say. It's there's only I guess you have the two plot lines going on where Marge and Homer are going out having a good time, and then them dealing with the babysitter, the kids. But overall, it could be stronger, but I know after this first season they really start hitting their stride in season 2, so I'm really excited to jump into that and like learn more, and just kind of get to experience it again, since it's been so long since I've seen the episode. So it's been a great journey. But I don't really have too many other thoughts to say on it. I think it was more of on the popcorn side, which I've described in other episodes, more than like the saying something about society. The one thing I will say is, as a new father, newish, my son's coming up on 19 months old. It's like we don't send him to daycare, and we only let very trusted people watch him. And this makes me, when you're a new father or a mother or just a parent, I feel like you have this protection of your children because the world is so crazy and you hear all of these horrible things. So it's very hard for us to kind of let go. And watching this episode did not help me in that regard of being like, yeah, I'm just going to call some random babysitter service and everything will be fine. So this did not make me want to run out and do that. So thank you, Simpsons, for making me even more scared of the world than I already am for my child. So we're going to go to the Citizens of Springfield, our segment where we go over the cast of the show and who are there playing in this episode. So we have Dan Castanella as Homer Simpson, Barney Gumble, and KBBL guy and half-bald worker. The pie in the sky guy, they didn't show his face, but he's a really funny character that works for the local news station. He's usually in a helicopter. And he has some fun banter with Kent Brockman in future episodes, so it was kind of nice to just hear him on the radio. We have Julie Carvener as Marge Simpson, Nancy Cartwright as Bart Simpson, and Baby Doll Bubbles, which I'm not 100% sure. That might have been, I think, one of the characters from the Elf movie they were watching. We have Yardley Smith as Lisa Simpson, Harry Shearer as Dr. Marvin Monroe, Marge's Demons and News Reporter number 1. We have Hank Azaria as Mo Sislak, Billy Rye, and the Mater D. One thing on Mo this episode, he had some really great advice. He's like, Homer, I want you to go buy Marge some flowers, take her out to a nice dinner, and get a nice hotel. Which, I feel like in the future, Mo is not that nice and thoughtful. So this is like Bizarro Mo right now. I feel like he still like gets angry with the prank phone calls, but I just thought it was interesting that he had the best advice that Homer's gotten probably in the show. So some of the guest stars, we had Penny Marshall as Mrs. Botts, we the criminal babysitter, and then the America's Most Armed and Dangerous Phone Caller. I kind of like how this is based on like America's Most Wanted. I don't even know if that show is still around, but I just remember as a kid where it's like, if you know these criminals, call this number and we'll help track them down. Because I think the host of that show, their son unfortunately had gotten kidnapped, and he kind of started that to help other children and people that have been affected by these criminals. And I know it was a really popular show. I want to say back in the 90s era. We have Christopher Collins as the America's Most Armed and Dangerous Presenter, June Foray as Ruby Baby Bug, Bumper Babysitting Service Receptionist and Happy Little Elf. And then we have Paul Wilson as Howard, the Florist and News Reporter number 2. The flower florist person had an interesting look, just very like almost like a contempt of like, what are you doing in here, Homer, to buy flowers? And especially when he's like, we have a dozen red roses that are very fine, but they are $55. So Homer buys one, of course. So the MVP of the episode for me are two characters. One, Marge, because I feel like it was like the whole plot kind of revolves around her calling in to the Marvin Monroe and then kind of kicking us off into the adventure. And then also Maggie for actually freeing the kids and helping them take out the babysitter and tie her up and everything. So we don't get a lot from Maggie in the first season, and I think Maggie and Marge really shine in this episode. And one thing I want to do say is the calling into and this goes into my joke actually, so calling into Marvin Monroe, it reminded me of a show called Frasier, which a lot of people probably don't even know what that is, but it was a show with Kelsey Grammer, who plays Sideshow Bob, of course, who we've already seen this season, and then also he plays a lot of other. He's an actor that plays a lot of other characters in other movies and TV shows. But he was on the show called Frasier, where he was actually a psychiatrist, where people would call into the show and talk about their problems. And I know that has to be and maybe that was a popular thing in real life back in that time period, but that has to be a motivation or a inspiration for Dr. Monroe's character. And I thought that was like a great little touch. And like I alluded to earlier, my best joke is when Marge is actually calling in to him and describing her frustration. And I'm going to read some of that. And it was really fun. So, Dr. Monroe, the pig has made you into his mother. You are not a hot love object. You deserve to be. Marge, really? I am sure of it, as I'm sure my voice is annoying. Marge, tonight, the second he comes through that front door, you've got to tell him you're fed up, and if he doesn't start loving you, you will be leaving. Leave, Homer. Dr. Monroe, please, you don't use his real name. Leave, Pedro. And then the whole because they're listening to the radio in the nuclear power plant there, and all his friends and coworkers are laughing at him. I just really like the line of, "I'm as sure as I am sure that my voice is annoying." So it's like he knows he has an annoying voice. I don't know why. It just really made me laugh, and it's like one of the kind of first things that happens in the episode. So really great. And it's interesting, this Dr. Monroe character. Like I said in a previous episode, I'm pretty sure he dies eventually. Like in show, like the character in the show dies at some point. I'm not sure what season or how many times he pops back up. But he's like one of these like interesting characters that it's not really necessarily my favorite, but he's just one of those kind of weird characters that pops up occasionally. So next we're gonna go to one of my favorite segments, trivia. And since it is October, we're going with a October themed trivia question. In the Treehouse of Horror 3, who is Milhouse dressed as for Halloween? Again, that is in the Treehouse of Horror 3, who is Milhouse dressed as for Halloween? Answer: Radioactive Man. I can't wait to get to the Treehouse of Horror episodes. I want to say they started in season 2. They're always so fun because it gives the creators of the show a chance to be like, hey, this isn't like in universe, and you can do these crazy things, and it's Halloween, of course, so it's a little spooky, a little with witches and skeletons and aliens, and I feel like this is where the show could kind of like stretch his legs a little bit. Where some shows, like, of course, like Rick and Morty, they do that all the time. I think when shows have like these kind of like pocket episodes that are like, oh, this isn't really canon, it's just like something that's happening within the show universe with these characters. I think that's a really cool thing. And these kind of like anthology type episodes, I don't like them all the time, but I feel like, one or two a season can be really great and fantastic. But overall, a really great episode. Thank you again for your patience. I know this one was a week late. My goal is to still come out every week to week. So please like and subscribe. Let me know what your thoughts are on the first season of the show. We finished 13 weeks. Been every week been reviewing and getting to rewatch the show. What are you excited for season 2? Let me know down in the comments. And as always, I hope you have a great day, and peace out.